Open Style Lab recognizes that fashion is both powerful and also healing. In almost any social function, there is a spoken or an unspoken dress code. So if you can't dress for something, then you can't attend it. And so it very much becomes an accessibility issue.
Open Style Lab is a 10-week program that is based at MIT. We have a multidisciplinary team comprising of 1 engineering, 1 occupational therapy, and 1 design student working with and for a client who has a disability.
This should be much higher.
This should be higher.
And then she can adjust that.
I applied to Open Style Lab because I'm very interested in the field of assistive technology. This is really my first experience to be able to work with people like engineers and designers to create a product.
You'll be contacting your clients to start building that relationship and begin to identify what clothing challenge you want to solve together. We really want to capture what your design process is like. We really would like this to be a user-centered design, which is why each team is paired with 1 client.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you again.
How have you guys been?
Good.
How are you? My injury was C4, which is about the middle of your neck, and it caused me to be quadriplegic. Putting clothes on is very, very difficult for me. So finding something that gives me more independence is going to be a big step.
So you can see how it would be, you could rip a shirt trying to do this.
Being able to work cross-disciplinary with occupational therapists and engineers was also a really big draw for me with Open Style Labs and working directly with the client.
So when you get dressed, usually are you in bed or somewhere else?
I usually do it out of bed, usually either in my chair or standing.
I'm looking forward to incorporating all kinds of ideas into helping the people as they go through these stages of their lives.
I'm, as an engineer, sort of interested in the gadgets.
I'm wondering if you could actually just make a whole zipper under the bottom of the sleeves so that all you have to do is get your arm through the 2 holes and then just zip it up later.
Any zippers might be a challenge. Even the back one might be really, really difficult.
Ryan told us that rain hitting his skin on his arms feels like needles on his skin. It feels like getting a tattoo, and it's so painful. So he really tries to avoid situations in which he thinks he might get caught outside in the rain.
I get you.
We made the jacket that opens in the back with a zipper, so it can open very wide for him to put on.
Do you see that the arm area is the highest probability for bites?
Yes. I wear the skull cap, the hat, the helmet. I wear my jean jacket, an arm pad, and now recently I started putting this on my ankles because we have an ankle biter.
They make Kevlar sleeves that I tried very hard to bite through and was unable to. This would be the minimum protection. And then the rest of it, we could integrate this into a lightweight jacket, sort of disguise. They come in black, so we can make this a little bit less obvious.
Rochelle is our client. She has a sensory processing disorder as well as Raynaud's disorder. We chose to focus on a solution for the Raynaud's disorder. The tips of her toes, they get really cold easily, so she can't actually wear any open-toed shoes during the spring and summer season. And so while some people would think that that's, a pretty minor issue, it actually really drastically changes her wardrobe and her abilities to dress like everyone else during the summer.
Oh my God, it's a foot!
Oh, wow, it's actually a foot. If we're going to make a shoe, we might as well also make a mold because we can't have our feet here all the time.
I'm making an open-toed shoe with a heating element. The heat that comes from here will spread throughout the part of the shoe that's in contact with the foot and help warm the foot. We've got a couple ideas. We've got this and kind of a horizontal idea. We're going to deconstruct the shoe and use the sole as kind of a basic prototype for I think what we're going to go for.
What we've kind of laid out here are just prototypes and components of what we'd like to potentially deliver at the final fitting. Mm-hmm. So what you see here is kind of like a jacket that you would wear.
Oh, it's very pliable.
Yes,
So
it's very
the
movable.
comfort is there.
Yeah.
I like how it's light and it doesn't feel like I'm geared up.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm just having a thick sweater on.
Yeah. Can you make us a couple hundred?
There's no current platform where these three disciplines can come together. So we're really grateful for the opportunity to be able to make that a reality.
Okay, well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Gordon Current Science and Technology stage. My name is Susan. I'm an educator here at the museum. Today we have a very special group of guests here from Open Style Lab. That's the movie that you just saw here. And in just a few minutes, we'll start off with one of our teams. We'll talk a little bit about their team Theo, and then we also have Team Gary. Actually, Team Gary's going first, and then Team Theo will be talking today. Just a brief overview if you missed the video or exactly what it entails. This is the second year that Open Style Lab had a 10-week program. It was started with a group of MIT students, and Alice is one of the founders of Open Style Lab, and we're very lucky to have her here today. Alice, if you want to say a couple words.
Sure. Thank you so much. Sure. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alice, and as Susan very kindly introduced, I'm one of the co-founders for Open Style Lab. And we're just so excited to be able to have two of our teams that participated in our flagship summer program, which took place at MIT over 10 weeks. And these amazing fellows who all hail from either engineering, occupational therapy, or design fields, they came together, worked with a client on addressing a specific dressing problem, because one of our the pillars of Open Style Lab is that we believe that everyone, no matter what your ability is, should have access to both functional and stylish clothing. So thank you so much, and we feel free to approach me if you have any other questions, and enjoy the presentation. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you. And we'll have the workshop or the showcase that you can see after each of the presentations from 1 to 2 today. So our first team, if you ladies would like to come on up, we have Team Gary, Loren, and Brittany.
So together we're Team Gary, but my name is Loren Fields. I'm a second-year occupational therapy student at MGH Institute of Health Professions, and this is Brittany Bautista. She's a junior at MIT, and she's a mechanical engineer. So we were assigned Gary as a client. He's a retired detective who uses a manual wheelchair when he's going out in the community and in his own environment. He loves rock concerts, especially The Who, and Floramos, an Italian restaurant in Everett, and he likes enjoying a very active social life. A lot of his friends are retiring, and he likes to go out and go to weddings and go to all the activities that he loves to do with his friends who are now free and have spare time. He was also diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 1995. A little bit about multiple sclerosis. This is an autoimmune disorder where the body attacks its own nerves, making it hard to move. It can cause decreased temperature regulation and fine motor skills. It can cause numbness, fatigue, and it makes it overall hard to move. So Gary has primary progressive multiple sclerosis, and this is a form of the disease which is degenerative. It doesn't get better. Once he has an injury or once it starts to get worse, he doesn't recover. We met with Gary at his home and in the MIT bathroom to observe him dressing after toileting. So we saw him undress himself and use the bathroom and have to try and redress after. And overall, we noticed that he had difficulty trying to pull his pants back up, and this compromised his safety. He always has to keep one hand on a guardrail, and this keeps him from being able to dress himself with both hands. He also has the decreased fine motor skills, so when he's trying to pull up his pants and button them and zipper them, he's not able to do it. It's hard enough for us to do it normally, so him doing it with one hand and trying to balance was hard enough. So we started thinking about what he could do, and we wanted to see first what temperature he was able to handle, because as part of MS, he also has difficulty with temperature regulation. And for him personally, he can only stand temperatures up to 99 degrees, otherwise his body goes into a state of paralysis. This can happen in the bathroom if he gets overheated also, and he can't get himself up, so he requires assistance. He's a person who values his independence, as all of us do, So we wanted to be able to create clothing for him that he'd be able to dress himself with either minimal assistance or independently. So when he is out at a wedding or at a restaurant, he doesn't have to have his wife outside the door or his friends waiting to come in and dress him. So together as a team, we thought of things to create for him. We wanted to create a classic look, as said by Gary himself, which included just a classic pair of dress pants and a good tucked dress shirt. And we wanted to make one in blue and white and one in black and khaki. We wanted, again, to make minimal assistance or independently usable items so that when he is in the bathroom, he could tuck his shirt with one hand, be able to pull his pants up, and close them. This included the easier closing mechanisms, so instead of zippers, maybe using Velcro, or magnets instead of buttons, and clothing that is able to maintain his safety and can be reused. Like I said, it's a degenerative disorder, so it's only going to keep getting worse. So if he spills something on himself or just the usual wear and tear of shirts, he's not going to have that same item we made him. So we wanted to create items that he could change himself or transfer shirt to shirt so he can have his wife put it on him once it gets to a stage where he can't do it himself. And Brittany's now going to talk a little bit about our prototyping process.
Okay, so for our initial prototyping, our main approach was really just to modify our pre-existing clothing. We did not have a designer on our team, and we realized very quickly that we would not be able to create professional-looking clothing from scratch. So our modifications included inserting easier mechanisms into pants and shirts so that Gary would be able to close them by himself, and also adding safety features. Gary is very safety conscious, and he has had a couple of bad falls in the past, and so that was really a big concern of his. So our first prototype that we made was this pair of pants. We decided to, excuse me, sorry. We decided to sew the front zipper and button shut and add openings on the sides that could be closed with Velcro. These openings were meant to be hidden in the pockets, so they would be invisible and look just like a regular pair of pants, but they would be easily accessible with one hand by Gary reaching over his front and opening and closing his pants. We also decided to add this arm loop, as you can see in black, that Gary could insert his arm into, and this would hold his pants at about knee level while he was toileting, so they would be out of the way, but they wouldn't fall completely to the floor. That way, when he was trying to reach down and pull up his pants, he wouldn't have to bend down all the way and risk his safety. So after we created these prototypes and tested them on Gary, we had a few takeaways. The first is that we are very bad at sewing. A design student really would have been helpful in this process, but that was okay. And we also had to rethink the locations of where we were putting our modifications. We originally had everything on the sides because we thought it would be easier to access with one hand. It's really close to your arm. However, we realized that for a person in a wheelchair, it's really hard to access your sides because the sides of the wheelchair are covering them. Also, when you're trying to balance yourself with one hand, it's really hard to kind of look down and find the sides instead of just look straight down. So after that, we decided to see what was already on the market. We found two companies, Magnaready and Buck & Buck, that create assistive clothing for people with disabilities. Magnaready creates shirts that replace the buttons with magnets, so they're easy to put together and pull apart. And Buck & Buck does something similar, but with Velcro instead of magnets. So they replace the zipper and button in pants with Velcro, and they replace the buttons in shirts with Velcro. So we reached out to both of these companies, and they were generous enough to donate to us 3 shirts and 2 pairs of pants, which met our requirements for what we had to give Gary, which was great. So yeah, from there we decided to modify what we had. And that brings us to one of our final prototypes, retracta-loops, which Loren will demonstrate in a second. So these are basically the original arm loop idea that we had. They're made of shoelace material, so they're easy on the skin. They're hidden in the pant loop, or the pants belt loops, so that they're invisible when Gary is just kind of hanging around. And they retract. You can pull them out easily with your thumb, as Loren just did, and we'll do again. And you can retract them manually through the pocket. Yeah, so these, again, are for added safety to hold Gary's pants up while he's toileting so he doesn't have to reach down all the way to the floor. And they're virtually invisible to, again, maintain Gary's independence and his sense of self and being normal like everyone else. So, but this final solution didn't really solve the tucking problem. So we then had to approach this problem. We wanted to create a device that was adaptable yet sturdy. So we wanted something that would be machine washable, but also something that could change from shirt to shirt. As Loren said, MS is degenerative, so as Gary's condition gets worse, he may need different types of shirts, or he may spill things on himself and just need new shirts. And therefore, we wanted to create something that could change from shirt to shirt. We also wanted to give him the opportunity to express his own personal style and pick out his own shirts. So the way that this works, you can see in these pictures on the top, it's an elastic belt that clips to the bottom of any shirt and rolls up into the shirt to keep the shirt snug to your body but out of the way for toileting, but low enough that your pants can come over the top of it. So our takeaways from this were just that we needed to make it easier for Gary to use, again, maybe using Velcro instead of buckles or buttons, and also just make it look better aesthetically. So Loren is going to talk about our final product, EverTuck, and I'm going to demonstrate.
We came up with the idea of EverTuck pretty quickly. We just wanted to see an item that would be hidden. We wanted to make sure it was something that would be transferable. And in this case, we were able to get Gary the Magna Ready shirt with the buttons that just snap together very easily to save time. In the morning, what you would do is clip the crocodile clips on the belt around the edge of the shirt, and then you take the Velcro and clasp it together. This was measured to Gary's waist size, and that's why it's kind of large on Brittany. You would measure it out ahead of time to see what size you would get. And then once it's on, you start rolling it inwards towards the shirt to the desired level at your waist, and to the point where it would be covered by your pants. Once it's like this, you could pull your pants over it and close it, and because it's fitted to your skin, you can move around, it's elastic, it feels natural, and you won't even notice it's there once it's tucked in. And Brittany is actually wearing one today in her outfit. It just helps anyone with or with disabilities maintain that classic look of professionalism, so that he can go out and when he does toilet in a setting that he doesn't have assistance, he doesn't have to undo his shirt or tuck it one-handed. It's already done for him. And this is our client Gary in his classic completed outfit. I dropped it off to him a few weeks ago and he loved it. It was easy for him to put on, and he kept saying how excited he was to be able to go out into the environment he lives in and be able to go to weddings and out to dinner and wear these outfits. He was so happy, which made us obviously very happy as well. And we just want to say thanks to the OpenStyle Lab team and our mentors for this opportunity. Buck and Magna Ready for donating as many items as they did. This really saved us a lot of time and money, and we're able to give him items that we know he would look good in rather than have to make it ourselves and have the risk that he wouldn't end up liking them. And to the Provenzano family for being a part of this whole experience with us, and you guys, the audience, for listening to this. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Alessandra LeFort, and I was the occupational therapist for Team Theo, and we made the dry night pajamas. My two teammates, Elizabeth Porter was the engineer for our team, and Chloe Cooper, who was the designer for our team, were unable to be here today, but I just wanted to give them credit because they worked hard on this project. So first I want to talk a little bit about our client, Theo. Theo is a 10-year-old boy with spina bifida. He absolutely loves the Patriots, and he's a competitive wheelchair basketball player. Spina bifida is a birth defect which affects the spinal cord. There are 3 types of spina bifida. Spina bifida occulta is when there is an incomplete closure in the vertebrae. The vertebrae are the bones that make up the spinal column. This is the most common type of spina bifida, and it's also the least severe type of spina bifida. The second type of spina bifida is meningocele, and this is when there is an external sac that includes meninges. Meninges are the membranes that enclose the spinal cord and brain. And finally, and most severe, is myomeningocele. This is when the external sac not only includes meninges, but also includes cerebral spinal fluid and portions of the spinal cord. And this results in spinal cord damage. And this is actually what Theo had. So because of this, Theo had mild weakness and decreased sensation in his lower extremities. He also had difficulty controlling his bowel and bladder movements, and because of this has had many surgeries, including an augmented bladder. And that brings us to our challenge. Theo's augmented bladder is relieved through a catheterization process through a flush stoma in his lower abdomen. A stoma is a surgically created opening, which in this case opens the bladder to the outside environment. And catheterization process occurs when you insert the catheter into the stoma, and because of the pressure, the bladder is relieved. Theo's augmented bladder is not large enough to hold the amount of urine he was producing overnight. So because of this, when he was sleeping, his stoma would leak. Theo's parents estimated about 600 milliliters of leakage each night, which is about how much I have right here, which you can imagine when you wake up in the morning, that is going to soak your pajamas, soak your bedding. His parents were forced to do a lot of laundry every single day. So our design requirements, we wanted something that Theo could go to bed in at night and wake up dry the next morning. We also wanted to decrease the amount of laundry his family was doing every day. We wanted something that would conceal the odor and also something that would decrease the urine to skin contact to decrease any abrasions or skin irritations that may happen. And finally, we wanted something that was discreet. We wanted something that Theo would feel comfortable wearing to a sleepover or to sleepaway camp, things that he had a lot of difficulty with. So for our first prototype, we went the collection route. We used an overnight collection bag, which we melted in certain areas to decrease the bulk as it collected the urine. The overnight collection bag and the catheter was inserted into a pocket in a pair of shorts, which was concealed with with a flap that would zip up and Velcro at the top. This prototype actually worked really well for us. There was no leaks. However, because of the catheter being inserted overnight, what would happen was the bladder was constantly being emptied throughout the night. And this meant that Theo's bladder did not have a chance to grow naturally, which was causing the problem in the first place. So this was a good part-time solution, something he could use for an occasional sleepover, but not a permanent solution. For our next prototype, we went the absorbent route. We used a product called Zorb, and we did 2 layers on the inner part of the garment, and the outside of the garment is a waterproof blue layer. This garment also worked in preventing leaks. However, it was moving around Theo's waist a lot as he slept, and also the liquid would disperse throughout the entire garment, and this caused a lot of unnecessary discomfort. For our final design, we did a hybrid. We used a one-piece wrestling singlet that was tight to Theo's body to keep everything in place, with a pocket, which we designed the Patriots logo to kind of conceal the bulk that was involved in the pocket. Inside the pocket is a Zorb pad that is inserted into a waterproof pouch, and this whole product goes inside the pocket where the Zorb is in contact with the stoma and can absorb the leakage overnight. This product actually didn't work as well as we wanted it to. We still had some overnight leaks. We're hypothesizing that it's because of the surface area of Zorb to the stoma, so we're still working on some different prototypes to fix this problem. But this is a hybrid, so we can also use the overnight collection bag, which worked really well in this pocket. So we did have something to give to Theo that he could use. I just want to say thank you to the Museum of Science for having us here today. Thank you to OpenStyle Lab and all of its mentors for helping us throughout this process, and thank you to you guys.
If you want to talk to her or Team Gary as well, they're going to bring all of their prototypes and final products and everything down to the tables that are in the back there, and you're welcome to join them and talk with them more then. But thank you all very much for joining us here today, and enjoy the rest of your day at the museum.